And so I was getting ready for work and I collapsed on the floor out of exhaustion, maybe the body just giving up. I have no idea what it was back then. But it was a very, very scary experience. And at the end of the first year, we launched the Habit Coach podcast. And then that became one of India's top podcasts. Because I talk about this 21-day myth. Because so the 21-day idea became popularized with habits from the Power of Habits, right? The book that was that. The interesting thing is that I have never seen anybody get a habit in 21 days. One is to distinguish what is a shiny object, and the second is to distinguish what is an opportunity.
Hello and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast, where we share hot tips on how to do life and business without losing your mind. I'm your host, Savita Nanjappa, entrepreneur, high-achieving 9-to-5er turned transformational success coach, helping you create a wildly successful business. Come hang out with me and other fabulous humans like you every week for stories and chats packed with a healthy dose of tips, resources, how-tos, and real talk. Side effects may include a happier and more confident you with each passing day. Welcome to the Success with Savita podcast. This is Valentine's week, and for our Valentine's Day episode, our theme is love, of course, but we are focusing on self-love and self-care. To me, self-love starts with habits, rituals, routines, and boundaries, and that's why we have the perfect guest for this Valentine's Day episode, habit coach Ashdin Doctor. Ashdin Doctor is a podcaster. He hosts the very famous, top of the charts, very popular Habit Coach podcast, a YouTuber of the Awesome 180 Habit Coach YouTube channel, and the founder of Awesome 180, a habit coaching program. In this conversation, I talked to Ashdin about not just habit creation and habits that work, but also the questions we all want to ask about consistency, falling off the wagon, shiny object syndrome, wanting to do it all, and discipline. Listen in as he answers all of this and more inside this conversation. Ashdin, thank you so much for joining me today and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast. And we're going to be talking about my favorite topic, habits, rituals, routines. Thank you for making the time and welcome.
My pleasure, Savita. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And it's my pleasure too. But with that, I know a lot because I've been doing research and I know you have a lot of followers. But just to get our audience introduced to your journey, and especially your journey of pre-habit coach, right, where you went through this burnout phase, tell us a little bit about what made you move from what you were doing earlier, which was business, into, becoming a habit coach.
So I come from a family business, right? So our family business is market research and consumer understanding. So it's called Ormax, and we basically understand consumers and how they think about various products. And I did that for, I think, 14, 15 years. In the process, because it is a family business, you have all this added unnecessary pressure on you're going to be compared to your parents. Will you be able to live up to all the hype that is there? And all that generally subconsciously plays a role somewhere. So I was passing through that phase of taking on extra pressure from work. I was in an unhappy relationship. So it was everything getting together. And at that point of time, I'm talking about 10, 11, 12 years ago, the whole concept of health didn't really exist. It was that who thinks about health? The way that we think about health now, it is at a very different level. At that point of time, it was like, people who go to the gym are gym freaks, right? It's not that normal people go to the gym. Only gym freaks or bodybuilders go to the gym. Yeah. And my idea of nice food was butter chicken, jeera rice every single day. The more I could eat, the better. So that was the mindset. And all of that slowly catches up with you. And I realized that my body was changing, not in a good way. I couldn't climb upstairs. And one final day, I was getting ready for work, and I don't think I must have slept for, 48 hours. Because you know how last minute panic is the only way that you ever complete anything in the corporate world back then, at least for me.
Even now, a lot of people, yeah.
Now, I get the habit of procrastination. No, so do everything beforehand So that when you actually have to deliver it, you don't have to worry about it. Then you're all shant.
Okay.
So instead of procrastination, now we do precrastination. But that is all about like post learning about habits and understanding and becoming a habit coach. You learn these things. But at that point of time, last minute panic was the only way that you actually got anything done. And so I was getting ready for work and I collapsed on the floor out of exhaustion, maybe the body just giving up. I have no idea what it was back then. But it was a very, very scary experience because, when at the age of 30, when your heart suddenly, says, Chalo, I think now is a good time to stop, or whatever was happening, it was a very scary experience for me. And I realized that life can't go on that way. And being a typical type A person, type A means, that go get, I'm going to harm. If I'm not winning, what is the point of being in this race? That kind of a person. I said that, chalo, from a nice big stomach, I had a nice big paunch at the time. I said, what is the hardest goal I can give myself? And that was to get a six-pack. So now I was on this mission of getting a six-pack. And that's where it all started from. And then I realized that you can't get a six-pack by just exercising. You do 35,000 crunches, nothing's going to change. You have to focus on your food. You have to focus on the way that you sleep, the stress that you take. And I realized that all of it together is actually what makes the change that take place. So that's where I started. And I realized that, I'm not necessarily the most disciplined person. But what I figured out was that when you get the habits right, if you can make something consistent, then it doesn't matter if you're taking small steps or large steps, eventually you're going to get to where you want to go. So that is where I realized, and that's how I started this thought of habit coaching. Because after that, people would come and say, Ashdin, you did this fantastic thing. Tell me how. So then I said, okay, chalo, I'll tell you how. And that is where the whole idea of habit coaching came about.
All right. I feel like I'm hearing myself when you're sharing that you're not the most disciplined person, true. But also procrastination is something I want to talk about. Now you decided to move into habit coaching. What happened next? Like, did you really launch it as a business, or was it so organic? It happened very naturally. What came next?
So before I started Awesome 180, which is the habit coaching business, I had a small business called Fit-a-Bee, which was fitness through playing games.
Yes.
And that business was, it was taking up a lot of time every day with coaching people physically. So I thought this habit coaching thing would be one small little thing that I do on the side, a passion project. Suddenly, I thought I'd take on 5 clients in a year, and suddenly came to 25 clients that year. I said, I need to spend more time doing this.
Yeah.
And that's how it organically grew. And at the end of the first year, we launched the Habit Coach podcast. And then that became one of India's top podcasts. So then I was like, I can reach so many people instead of just thinking about maybe one-on-one coaching. How can I now actually take this message forward and, impact as many people as I can?
Interesting. So it's been quite organic for you. You started with your own change for yourself. But I have to ask you this. How long did it take for you to move from, having this, all these habits which weren't working for you, to seeing transformation? Did it take, everybody wants to know how long is it going to take me, right? We are all wanting instant results. How long did it take you to really see transformation and change in yourself once you started doing this?
So it's interesting. I have 2 answers for this. Okay. The 6-pack happened in 1 year. So so one is to say that it is possible to do if you understand the science behind what you're doing. But the actual answer is that I'm still working in progress, right? Because the way that we normally think as human beings is, how long will it take me to get this? And then once you get it, what will you do?
Yeah.
Right? Matlab, now you've got it, now what?
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about a destination, think about it as a goal that keeps growing along with you.
Yeah.
So you know that I've recently come out with a book called Change Your Habits, Change Your Life.
I'm reading it right now.
So in that I talk about how every time you grow and your goal grows with you and your habit grows along with that. So it's never that you're stuck with that habit. You are changing your habits, you are growing, and there's a basic trajectory that is upwards that is taking place.
Interesting. Very interesting answer that it's, it may take you a year. A lot of people may not like that answer, by the way. 1 year seems like a lot. But moving on to my next question and really talking about habits is, what, according to you, you spend so much time doing this? What's the science behind habit creation? Because we are like, oh, it's 21 days or it's 25 days or do this for like 3 weeks. What is the number and what is the science behind this? Please enlighten us.
Lovely. So there is one myth busting section in that book. So you must read it.
Yes.
Because I talk about this 21-day myth. Because
Okay.
so the 21-day idea became popularized with habits from The Power of Habits, right?
Yes.
The book that was there. The interesting thing is that I have never seen anybody get a habit in 21 days.
True.
Okay, because I think it's a completely erroneous number. I think it just sounds damn good. It's a multiple of 7. 21 is also my birth date. So I think everyone thinks that 21 is a good number. But apart from that, the way to think about it is, like I said earlier, if you are thinking about habits as a final destination, then you'll be disappointed with this 21 number. If you remove this 21 number from your mind and say that I'm going to get to that point where I'm comfortable with this habit, and then I'll make myself a little bit more uncomfortable by making it a little harder. So for example, if you are you see this amongst runners, for example. If you are running for 1 kilometer, then you slowly say, I'll run 1.5 kilometers. Then I'll slowly say, I'll run 2. So you see that with running. In the same way, any of the habits that you want to form, instead of thinking about a final destination, think about how you can make it a little harder every few weeks.
Yeah. And there is no number. You just have to keep doing it. And then you keep kind of increasing the challenge level, right?
Correct. Because the consistency is what makes you stronger or makes you grow as a person. And once you've grown, then that original habit feels very childlike. Babyish. It's so easy. So then you want something more harder. Then you want to grow.
Okay. So I now have a question for different types of people. Okay. So this is one person where I'm thinking I have a number of habits I want to start. It's a new year. We're getting started. February is the new January. Okay, so I'll start something now, and especially after listening to this podcast, right? But I want to do it all. Like, I want to meditate. I want to reduce device time. I want to exercise. I want to do it all. What do you recommend should be my starting point? Should I do everything, attempt to do everything, do one thing? What's your advice?
So no more than 3 habits at a time to change. Okay, so that is the rule. No more than 3 habits at a time. You choose a habit basis the intention that you want. So which habit do you think is going to give you the biggest impact? And do you have a strong enough reason why you want to make that change? If you don't know why you want to make the change, there's no point making that change. Right? So I want to go running because my neighbor goes for a run is not a strong enough reason why you should start running. So you have to be very, very clear, Savita, on why you want to start going for that habit or that change.
Yeah. So my response to that would be getting inspired by Instagram and everybody's morning routine should not be your starting point.
No, absolutely. Because inspiration is short-lived.
Correct.
Right. You have to then you have to get on to it every single day to look at somebody on Instagram to get inspired and motivated. But instead,
that's a good habit to develop for a lot of people who spend a lot of time online.
Yeah.
On a lighter.
It's crazy how much time we spend. My dad just discovered Instagram Reels and he hasn't moved from his chair for 2 hours. So I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But that's the thing, right? So you need to realize how you're going to make these changes and why you want to make this change. So inspiration, motivation are not the ways to do it. The way that we talk about is using the word intention. Do you have an intention to change? If you don't have that intention, there's no point. And that intention comes from this idea of why.
Yeah.
So if you understand why, then it makes a complete difference in your life.
True. I mean, I completely resonate with you because the first thing that you do in coaching is to ask what's your intention, right? And what are these goals and why do you want to set these goals? My next question for you is, okay, I got started with some habits and my problem is inconsistency and sticking to my schedule. How do I fix it? Can inconsistency be fixed by just saying, okay, you just got to do it? And then it becomes not so exciting to just do it. Like, is there a way beyond being aware that you're inconsistent and just simply waking up and Nike style, just do it? Are there some tips that you can share to develop consistency?
Lovely. First, tell me a habit that you're trying to work on. Then we can break it up.
Okay, let's take exercise, which is something that a lot of people struggle to keep up with.
Mm. So the way to do it is, first, why do you want to exercise? Right? So you want to exercise because you want to get into a sari for your friend's wedding.
Or just to look good. Like I think I should lose some weight and I can look good. Fashion style.
So you have to have a strong enough why. Why do you want to look good? Right? It comes down to a strong pain point in you. I want to look good because I don't want to be hiding behind in photographs anymore. I make everyone stand in the front, I go and sit in the back. Right?
Yeah.
That's a pain point that you can say. Right? I want to exercise and look good because I don't want to have somebody takes 10 selfies and me choose only one from that where he got the angle just right and where the lighting was just right.
Like, how do you know that? Just say, how did you know that?
Habit coach. I spend a lot of time talking to people. But that is actually it, right? These are the pain points that you feel. You're like, I don't want to be sticking my stomach in every time somebody takes a picture of me. What is the point? So if you find that as a strong pain point, that is what you use as your goal and your direction. And then what you do is you find the stupidest, smallest action you can take for this. So there are 3 golden rules of habit change, and you'll see that in the book as well.
Yeah.
The first golden rule of habit change is make it stupidly small, which means make it so small that you feel stupid not doing it.
Okay.
Right? So your first habit for exercise is not to exercise for an hour and a half. Can you exercise for 4 minutes? Right? There's a fantastic Tabata routine, which is a scientifically proven method of exercise, which is just 4 minutes. Right? You can check it out on my YouTube channel. I've done lots of Tabata videos on it. And it is exactly this. You just follow along for 4 minutes and you're done for the day. Now, everyone has 4 minutes. Right? You don't need to change into your gym clothes. You can do it in your house clothes. And then you continue. Then you say 4 minutes. Now this is easy. I'm good. I'm rocking. So I'll do Tabata and I'll do 5 Surya Namaskars. And then you add it to that routine. And then slowly you say, no, I don't need to do this at home anymore. I can go to the gym. I'm now the kind of person that enjoys exercise. And then you move that. So what has happened is that you've changed as a person. Your habits have changed and grown along with you. Yeah. And ultimately you're moving in that direction, which is what that intention was. That I don't want to be sticking my stomach in for every picture.
Yeah. I think you kind of hit on the nail on the head, right? Where you're saying, even when, because people are like, you shouldn't just take a goal, where you're talking about just, I want to look good. It's frivolous. But I think that's the point, to understand and to tell people that's okay. You don't have to, nobody needs to decide for you what is frivolous or not. But in that, there is a pain point, and that's all of these things, right? People constantly telling you, are you pregnant? But you're just fat. And then you have to clarify that, no, I'm not. I'm just fat. So now there is a different kind of person.
It's not that I'm fat. I have fat.
I have fat. Okay. Now there's a different kind of person who has inconsistency. Let's say I exercise, I go, then I fall off the wagon. Then I'm like, there's a starting problem, right? When Monday comes, when the new month comes, when the new year comes, is there a workaround for that? What? Other than just you have to push yourself, what else would you advise as a coach for a person who's stuck like this?
So my style of coaching is not go hard or go home. Okay. So it's not beat yourself up. And as a result, I realized that we all fall off the wagon. I fall off the wagon so often. Yeah. But the idea is that when you fall off the wagon, what do? You dust yourself off when you get back on. Yeah. That is the key thing. And Winston Churchill said this, right? He said that success comes from moving from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. Okay. So the key is enthusiasm. Failure to failure will happen. Yeah. And it's part of the journey, right? But if you lose your enthusiasm, that means you've lost. So failure only happens when you stop doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you get back on, who said that you failed? As your habit coach, I will not tell you that you failed. I was like, fantastic. You went on a holiday for 7 days. You came back. You can't get back into the groove. No problem. Go back to that small habit and start again. And start again. And start again. Then you'll soon reach a place where you're tired of starting again. And you'll say, yeah, I don't want to start again. I'm not going to stop. Yeah. And then you'll realize that you'll pack your gym clothes and take it with you wherever you go. So what has happened is that your mindset has changed. You have changed as a person. And this whole habit journey is nothing but you changing as a person. And getting conscious habits instead of all the little subconscious habits that we picked up along the way. You see your parents doing something, you see your friends doing something, and you follow along not thinking about whether it's something that you want to do or not, whether it's good for you or not. But if you consciously create the habits that you want, then you have a conscious life that you've created for yourself. And I think that, for me as a habit coach, is my mission.
Yeah. Fascinating. And I think I like the point where you're saying you get fed up of starting over, right? And that happens to, I have gone through that where I'm like, I'm done starting over. I'm done being every time going back to exercise and the coach telling me, okay, you go slow. Like the others are thinking, okay, you don't have to do so many reps. So yeah, you get done with that. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important, to go from failure to failure and just have that enthusiasm, just keep going. Now there's a different kind of person, right? Now this is a guy or girl or me, we've been doing it, we've been working out, but not seeing any results, not seeing any change. And at that point, what is important is patience, right? There are many people who are like, I've been doing this for 5 months, nothing's happening, it doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. I need to try something else. How does one develop patience and just do the work? Is there a point where you just got to shut the overthinking and just keep doing it? How does one do that? What's your advice on developing patience?
So it's two things, actually. It's not developing patience only. So very often when we do something over and over and over again and we don't see results, chances are we're doing the wrong thing over and over and over again and not seeing a result. Okay. Yeah. So very often we have to go back and examine where we're getting our information from. So as a result, one rule on the Habit Coach podcast is that I will not share a habit that I have not done myself. So as a result, if you ever take a tour of my room and my house, you will see that it is full of experiments of mine that I have done on myself. Only then will I ever talk about it on the podcast. Right? Okay. So every single thing I've done, including if I haven't done something, I will mention on the podcast. Like for example, for me, phone addiction is still a big thing. I have not been able to break it. So whenever I do a podcast on phone addiction, I will say, guys, I have tried this out. I have failed on it, but maybe it might work for you. I'm sharing this with you. So one is getting the right information, I think, is very, very important. Maybe you've been doing cardio your entire life and you're thinking that is what's going to make you lose weight. Maybe you suddenly have to realize that putting on muscle is what's going to make you lose weight or fat rather. So as a result, you suddenly realize that this is a new direction that I need to take my journey in and go in that direction. So one is getting the right information. The second, when you think about patience, again, two things. One is, have you given yourself too short-term a goal? I want to get this in 20 days. It's not happening in 20 days. Your life is stupid. I don't know. I'm such a bad person. Right? That means you've given yourself too short a goal. Yeah. You've run out of, you never put in the opportunity for learning about patience. So one is that. So unrealistic goal planning or goal setting is one. The second is, when you think about patience, you will notice that there is always something that is changing when you put in the effort and you put in the habit. You have to identify what is changing. So I have a friend who, for example, for the longest time can't lose weight. And he's been trying, he's been going to the gym, he's working on his food, etc. But suddenly says, Ash, I suddenly see my sleep has improved. Right? We measure our sleep, we do all of that, right? So he said, I suddenly see my sleep has improved. I was like, fantastic. Yeah, I suddenly seem like I'm feeling more calmer. The other day I had to run up a flight of stairs and I got up without huffing and puffing. And I was like, see, all of these are victories, but you're not seeing those because you're so focused on this one other goal that you had, which was the fat loss. Yeah. So if you can see change taking place, focus on the change that is taking place. Yeah. Keeping in mind the goal of that fat loss that is there. So I'm not taking away the fat loss goal, but I'm saying keep in mind the change. That means something is happening. Yeah. Normally, the last thing to move is the most stubborn of them, the things that we don't want or we don't enjoy, right? Yeah. So you have to be patient to see that stubbornness, but in the middle, enjoy all the small victories that come.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. Stay tuned as we take a quick break, and we'll see you on the other side of the show. Do you want to develop new habits? Or you already practice some good habits and now you want to take it up a notch? Then I have a book recommendation for you. It is Ashdin Doctor's Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. This is a step-by-step guidebook for you that will help you do just that. In this book, Ashdin shares not only his own journey but also practical ways to develop a habit. My favorite is a chapter on the 3 golden rules of habit change, of which never miss 2 days in a row is something I needed to hear, or the part on sustaining habits that you've created. The one that I'm wholeheartedly embracing is to procrastinate instead of procrastinate, or how to break up with habits that don't serve you. There is all this and so much more in the book, and of course, I don't want to give it all away. I highly recommend you get this book today. I have shared a link in the show notes. As Ashdin shares, habits aren't about the goal alone, it's about the journey. I can totally relate to that because I remember going through this whole, I've got to lose weight, doing a lot of strength training. And I was like, I think I should just do more cardio. Like, went to Bali on a trip, did this waterfall tour, and every waterfall was 200 steps down and 200 steps up. And then I realized everyone's struggling, but I was fine climbing these steps, which I know for sure earlier I would have struggled, my knees would have hurt, all of this. So I can totally relate to this, that along the way, there is something changing. You may not know what. So maybe just be aware, keep your eyes open, and something is happening. So yeah, that's great input. And now the most important one, according to me, your advice on dealing with shiny object syndrome. And I'm guilty of it. I know many people are guilty of this. What I mean by this is, I want to do Pilates. I want to do gratitude journal. I want to try spinning. I also want to learn tennis. There's so many things I want to do. I get distracted and I'm like, oh, okay, this is boring. I'll do this for a month. Now let me go try something else. How do you deal with that? Is there something that you should stay with for a while, change every year? Like, how do you keep it slightly interesting, exciting, challenging, but at the same time not change? Like every month you can't be doing something different.
Lovely. So there are two things again with shiny object syndrome. One is to distinguish what is a shiny object, and the second is to distinguish what is an opportunity. Okay, very often we think of all shiny objects as opportunities, but not all shiny objects are opportunities. Some of them are distractions. So you have to figure out which are distractions and which are opportunities. So for example, if you are consistently going to the gym, and now somebody says, yeah, but there's a Pilates studio that has opened up and this Pilates studio is 35 minutes away. And you're like, okay, I'm going to try Pilates now. You realize that you're not going to make 35 minutes of travel a routine and constant aspect of your life because it's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not an opportunity. It is maybe a distraction once in a while. So you say, okay, I'll continue with my gym, but maybe I'll go to Pilates once a week when I get the time. Right? So you see the difference between an opportunity. If your gym suddenly says that we're giving you a free trainer for 3 months, that is an opportunity. It's like, no, I'm going to go and still do my cardio. I'm not going to be, attracted to the shiny object. No, it's an opportunity. Use the trainer, right? So you have to identify what is the difference between an opportunity and a distraction, and then make a choice. I try everything because I enjoy trying everything and I enjoy going out of my comfort zone. So for me, it is part of my research work. But that doesn't mean the habits that I have established stop for this new thing. So if I'm doing, for example, aerial silk, I will continue with my gymming and then I will add on an aerial silk, or for example, Pilates in your case, or spinning as a
extra
exercise. So you continue what it is that you're doing, you've established, and then you add on various and see how that goes. You might suddenly realize you don't like it.
Yeah, I did have this follow-up question for this is, I don't love it. Now I don't love it, but it's important for me to do it. Let's take exercise. Of course, personally for me, I've realized I can't run. I used to be an athlete at one point now, and now I can't run. After 5 kilometers, my brain, I'm like, I don't have anything else to think about, right? What if I don't love...
Wow, you've achieved nirvana and meditation.
What?
You don't have anything to think about, no? So your brain has achieved nirvana.
No, but I need something to think about it. I can't run.
You're watching thoughtlessness.
Right? Then I'll start venting on people around me, and in my mind, I'm ranting. This one's no, this one's blocking. So my question: if I don't love exercise, I don't love it, but I need to do it because I'm aging. It's important for myself. How learn to love something which is meant to take care of you? Or you just don't do it if you don't love it. Find something else. What's your advice?
You find something that you enjoy. I can't run. I don't enjoy running. I don't run.
Or any form of exercise, but
No, I don't. No form of exercise is fun to do.
correct.
It's not like, but you find people that are fun to do it with, for example. Right?
Mm.
Right now I'm working out at this calisthenics gym.
Okay.
And the person who owns it is a character in himself. And I enjoy going and meeting with him and chatting with him and hanging out with him. And he's like, bro, you can do this. And also that vibe itself is making me want to go there. Right?
Okay.
As opposed to me doing this exact same exercise at home because I have the same knowledge that he has. It's just that because he's there and there's an event going there to see it and do it there, it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Right? I could have been doing it at home. I have a pull-up bar. I have everything at home. So, but why do I need to go there? And it's for this. It's for making whatever it is that you are doing fun. And if it's not fun, why do it?
Yeah. That's my point sometimes.
Yeah, because life is meant to be enjoyed. Sometimes you have to do things you don't enjoy, but you have to see the end benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing something that is consistent, like exercise, try and find something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
For me, starting Fitterbee was exactly that. Fitterbee was the fitness through playing games. And there were people who used to come there who had donated so much money to gyms because they would join a gym and never go, that they used to come to Fitterbee 5 times a week. Right? Why would they come to Fitterbee? Because they enjoyed the atmosphere, they enjoyed the fun, they enjoyed the conversation, they enjoyed the jokes.
Yeah.
So try and find a place that is fun. If you're going to a gym that is deadly boring, where the lights are dim, etc., 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 don't go there.
Yeah.
Right? Find something fun to do.
I think that's a great a piece of advice to everybody who's listening in. And I have my own journey in this. For the longest time, I used to work out alone. And, running, you just end up doing it alone if you can't find groups. What I realized, and it took me a long time, I wish I'd realized much earlier, right? But it took me a long time to realize is I like groups. Like I need community, I need people. So even whether it's learning or whether it's doing something, figure out what times you need groups and what times you can do something on your own. Maybe you can walk with a podcast on, and if you're that kind of person, you can do. When I'm walking, I don't want anyone. But if I need to work on it, I need the group along. But coming to sleep, which has become so, everybody's talking about it and we know it's become important. I've listened to your sleep ritual on your podcast, right? And I want to talk about mouth breathing because this is something that I'm very, very interested in. So it's a very personal, my question for you. Walk us through why we shouldn't do this and your best tips on taping your mouth at night. Because, when I tell my family, typically, they're like, are you okay?
Yeah, you got mad.
Are too far, right? I mean, all this is not okay. Your coaching is not working for you. So can you share with us, with the audience, why it's important not to breathe through your mouth, one, and which you do share on your podcast as well. So, of course, everyone will listen to it. I'll share the show notes as well. And how do you do it? Because I was doing it wrong when I realized that, you said you have to be careful and not to seal your whole mouth. So when you sneeze. So yeah, over to you on that very long question.
So the first reason on why to do it, most of us subconsciously start breathing through our mouth. And you will notice that mouth breathing is what we do when we are stressed. When we're running away from something, we start mouth breathing, right? We start panting. And mouth breathing is a stressed form of breathing. So there are lots of things wrong with mouth breathing. So the first one is that it's a stress form. That means you're subconsciously telling your body that you're stressed. So the second point is that when you mouth breathe, you basically dry up your mouth. So your saliva dries up and hence you don't protect your teeth. Your mouth is supposed to be a moist environment. So if you wake up in the dry mouth, a dry throat, chances are that you've been mouth breathing through the night.
Yeah.
Then obviously mouth breathing increases your chances of snoring, right? Because you're constantly breathing through your mouth. That's when the snoring takes place. But finally, and most important, is that when you breathe through your nose, actually that is not finally, there are more points. But when you breathe through your nose, two things take place. The first is that the air that you breathe in is getting moistened and heated up through the nasal passages.
Yes.
Right? And the second thing that happens is that we produce nitric oxide when we breathe. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator. What it means is that it improves your blood circulation. It increases the size of your veins and your arteries, meaning it expands them. So as a result, more blood can flow through your body, right? Vasoconstriction increases your increases your blood pressure. Vasodilation reduces your blood pressure. Right? So many people who have high blood pressure are also mouth breathers, chances are. And when you start breathing through your nose, you realize that this nitric oxide is helping you out with the way that your body is functioning. So overall, this is it. And if you're sleeping for 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, and mouth breathing, that means so much of the day is spent just breathing through your mouth. All the nitric oxide that is supposed to be produced for the body is not being produced. So as a result, what we do is we train the body to start breathing through our nose. Because I know so many people who sitting and talking to them will have their mouth open and will be breathing through their mouth, even though they're just like sitting and talking to you. Right? Especially when you're overweight, it all happens because the neck is pulling the muscles down as well. So as a result, the right way to do mouth taping is to get your micropore tape. Micropore is your 3M, the paper tape that they use in hospitals.
Okay.
Right? So you get a roll of that. And what you do is you tear out a sheet and you put it on the back of your palm.
Okay.
Now, the reason you do that is so that you remove a little bit of the glue. Otherwise, in the morning when you're trying to peel it off, you're going to peel off your lips as well with it.
Oh, okay.
So it becomes a little lighter when you put it on your mouth, and it's not that, the adhesive is not that harsh. There are 3 ways of mouth taping. The first one is mouth taping your entire mouth, right? So from start to finish, tape the entire mouth. If you have to sneeze, sneeze and then shut it, because that is the only thing that I realized was detrimental.
Okay.
Because if you sneeze with your mouth shut, and your eyes will explode, your brain will explode, your nose will explode, your eardrums will explode, everything will explode. So as a result, just like make sure that when you're sneezing, you open the mouth tape and do this. The second way to do this is to have a thin strip that you just put down the front of your mouth.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
So you just make sure that your lips are shut, but the sides are open. Okay. The third way of doing this is to have the tape tightly put on the top lip and loosely put on the bottom lip. So in case you need to sneeze, you can just open your mouth up. It won't pull your lips, and you can sneeze. So these are basically the 3 ways of doing this that I found as effective. What I would strongly suggest people to do is, many people feel very strange doing this at night, and they're worried that they'll die. Right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, I'm going to not be able to breathe at night. What do I do? So what I tell them is to put the mouth tape during the day.
Yeah.
So practice it while you're working on your laptop, or when you're just cooking, or when you're doing something around the house. Put the tape on and use it. Chances are that'll improve your relationships at home as well when you do something like this. But jokes aside, you can do that and get comfortable with this tape on your mouth. Family members, of course, will think you're completely mad.
Yeah.
Right? Pro tip: if you have a spouse or a lover, etc., please give goodnight kissy before putting the tape on. Right? Because otherwise it's going to be really funny. So that way you practice the taping and and see how you feel, because it will definitely improve your sleep. There are obviously things and concerns around sleep apnea. Many people who use a sleep apnea machine, a CPAP machine, benefit from the mouth taping because it helps them breathe through the nose.
Right.
So I've seen it with clients that mouth taping plus the CPAP machine really helps. However, as always, please speak to your doctor before you do any of this.
Yeah.
My surname is Doctor. I am not a doctor. So this is not medical advice, but this is something that I have practiced on myself and I've seen beneficial.
Yeah. Have you, has there been a time where you felt like, now I'm not really mouth breathing, it comes very naturally to do it through the nose, so I need to stop taping? Have you found that so far?
So I'm not taping currently.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. One is that the tape left my bedside table and went somewhere else. So as a result, the habit stopped because the location of what you're using the habit for changes.
Yeah.
That is one way of understanding how habits break. But I realized I don't necessarily need it anymore. So once in a while, I'll do it for just making myself feel good. If I've had a long day and I know I'm tired, I will do this, because when you're tired again, your mouth opens up.
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And that was something that I wanted to, something that I'm trying, of course, to a lot of comments in the house, which is you lost it. And are you sure you're okay? Right.
And whenever people tell you, have you lost it? What are you doing? Have you gone mad, Ashdin, etc.? Remember, you're on the right path. Because we are not trying to do things that everybody else does, right? We have to do the things that normal people don't because we are extraordinary.
Yeah. Okay. That's something to keep in mind. And to everyone who's listening, of course, because you're meant to be extraordinary. My next question, as we don't have, I don't have a lot of questions because I think you already shared so much value in this conversation. Morning routine or evening routine? I have to ask our coach. So, morning?
Morning is the time that sets up the rest of the day, right? However, evening is the time that sets up the next morning.
True.
So morning routine important, but if you want a tagda morning routine, you have to have a good evening routine.
So I have to ask you what time do you wake up and how does your morning look, if you can share with us?
Between 5 and 5:30 is when I wake up.
Okay.
And I wake up, I sit on the sofa, I have my water, I do my breathing exercises, and then I either make coffee and while my coffee is cooling down, I finish my meditation. So that journaling I'm not doing in the mornings right now, because after that I come in, either write chapters for my book or my podcast. So then my creative time is in the morning. So the way that I like to do is I like to finish as much of my work in the morning as I can. So by 11 o'clock, I've tried to finish all my work.
Okay. Interesting.
Then the rest of the day is there for meetings, meeting people, having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And then at in between all of that, 8:30 I go to the gym on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay.
And the rest of the time, what I do is in the evenings I go for a walk from an exercise point of view. So the best time to walk is either fasted in the morning or after dinner at night. So from a glucose management point of view, because glucose management and fat loss are very closely linked. So what I do is I go for a walk, and I don't enjoy the walk, but I enjoy listening to the podcast, or I enjoy listening to a book.
Yeah.
So for me, it is the book that I'm going for the walk for. So I get 1 hour of listening to the book at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because listening is such a secondary activity and you can listen to a book. I find that during the day, if I'm trying to do something else and listen, I just listen, work. Do you eat early? Which means if you're walking for an hour, what time do you finish dinner?
So ideally 6:30, 7 is when I finish dinner.
Okay. My next question for you is, if you have a busy day, what do you skip and what will you do no matter what among your habits?
If I have a busy day,
your non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables would be my meditation in the morning for sure. Everything else is flexible for a busy day.
Okay.
So the rule is never miss 2 days in a row. So the third golden rule of habit change, you'll see it in the book, is never miss 2 days in a row. If you miss 1 day, it's perfectly fine. So a busy day is fine. A busy week will have different consequences.
Right.
You see the difference? So 1 day is busy, no problem. Like yesterday, for example, I had the opportunity to interview Jay Shetty.
Wow. He's a down. Yeah.
He was. He just flew back. So I had to interview him in person, but I had to interview him for his new book called The 8 Rules of Love. Yeah. And I was like, if I have to interview him, I have to read the book.
Yeah.
So my routine changed. 5:30 in the morning, I started reading his book. I skipped my exercise. I skipped the writing of a podcast. I skipped everything. I canceled my meetings because I had to finish doing this one thing, get my questions ready for that event that I had to do.
Yeah.
So everything changed on that day. But today in the morning, meditation happened, exercise happened, podcast happened. So you never miss 2 days in a row. You miss 1 day, perfectly fine.
And how do you manage around travel, Ashdin? Do you manage to stick to your routines as much as possible when you travel, holidays, all of that? Or is it a break from everything?
So the way that I do it is the meditation stays, the journaling stays, the podcasting and the writing might take a break because I might not carry my laptop if I'm going for a holiday. If I'm going on a work trip, then probably I'll still take it along. And the exercise changes. So I won't be doing something that is as intense as, for example, in a gym, where I'll do a few push-ups in the room, or I'll do a few little cardio Tabata routines in the room. If the hotel has a gym which is okay, then I would probably go there in the evenings and do that there.
Interesting. Okay. And finally, what is a day in your life? I know you shared what your first half looks like. Is that what a typical day in your life looks like when you shared your morning routine earlier?
Typically. And then the rest of the day is meeting people. I'm at the stage in life where I don't necessarily think that hustling is the right way of going about things.
True.
So it is not a packed day.
Yeah.
I live a fairly comfortable life with that. So what I've done is I've chosen the things that I feel are high priority that I'm good at doing. And I double down on those. The things that I'm not good at doing, I've outsourced everybody else to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying that what you do with your day is, Savita, a big problem is that we have a belief system that if you're not hustling, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not true. If you're not seeing results, if you're not making a change, if you're not, all those aspects are what you're doing it for. It doesn't mean that you have to constantly be busy. So we try being busy instead of being efficient. So as soon as you make that mental change between efficiency and busyness, life completely changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my favorite thing is sometimes on a Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'm sitting by the pool with my friends. So the opportunity to do that happens because of the efficiency that I built in my life.
Right. Yeah. Freedom is different things to different people. Yeah, interesting and insightful so far. And I want to move to the next part of this interview. I don't want to hold you. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to quickly do this. I'm just going to call out a word, and you have to share what comes to mind when I call out that word. So starting off, the first thing that I have is what comes to mind when I say meditation.
Oh, peace.
Okay.
Peace and focus, I think those two.
Affirmations.
Affirmations, absolutely essential. Live your life through them.
Okay. Journaling.
Step 1 of meditation.
All right. Okay, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, because when you journal, you get all the stuff that is going in your head out. So then you can actually have a shant meditation when you actually get to meditation.
Okay. Intermittent fasting.
Essential. I love it. It helped me out tremendously. And it's needed for longevity.
Okay. Exercise or physical movement?
Movement more important than exercise.
Okay.
Exercise for vanity and skill-based approach to life. Movement for a healthy life.
All right. And of course,
I have to give one-word answers. I have to give sentences.
No, you can give me one word, a sentence. It doesn't matter.
Okay, fine.
What comes to mind? And that can be a sentence.
Okay, fine.
And final one is love.
Love, essential when you start thinking about it as universal love and not just romantic love.
Okay.
So we get trapped in the romantic love aspect of life when you suddenly realize that you can love every single thing and every single person around you, and that is a beautiful state to be in.
Right. And with that, we come to the end of our interview. Is there any final words of advice from you for our audience? Something that you'd like to leave them with? And of course, we are going to be sharing about Awesome 180, the book, the podcast, and your YouTube channel. Anything else you would like to share with our audience?
Don't settle in life. Realize that you can change your life to whatever it is that you want to be. And the actions that you take every single day are the only thing that matter in the way that you create your life. And your actions are nothing but the habits. So if you can focus on your habits in a direction with which you want to take your life, that's it. You're going to have the life that you want, the life of your dream.
Thank you. That was well said. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here today with us. It's been my pleasure to talk to you and it's been, I will say this is a luxury to talk to you for an hour. So thank you for generously sharing your time with me today and with the audience.
Savita, thank you so much. You're doing a fantastic job. Just keep inspiring people. Thank you everyone who's listening for listening, and keep sharing the love, keep sharing, the changes that you're making in your life. I think you never know who you're going to inspire and move to making a change in their life as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode and you want more, you can go to the show notes on my website, which is successwithsavita.com/podcast. If you like what you've heard so far, I would be grateful to you if you could leave me a 5-star review, subscribe to this podcast, and share with a friend who may find this useful. You can also follow me on my Instagram @successwithsavita and DM me any questions you may have, and I will be happy to answer them for you. Until the next episode, believe in yourself and all the best to your success.